My name is Sangeeta Mehta and you're watching my channel, My English Magazine. What does T.S. Eliot mean by tradition and historical sense in the tradition and individual talent? In his essay, Tradition and the Individual Talent, Eliot appears Eliot spreads his concept of tradition, which reflects his reaction against romantic subjectivism and emotionalism. He also signifies the importance of the tradition. He opines that tradition gives the reader something new, something arresting, something intellectual, and something vital for literary conception. Tradition, according to Eliot, is that part of living culture inherited from the past and functioning in the formation of the present. Eliot maintains that tradition is bound up with the historical sense, which is perception that the past is not something lost and invalid. According to Eliot, tradition is a living culture which is inherited from the past and also has an important function is forming shaping the present. To Eliot, tradition is bound up with historical sense of a poet or writer. Historical sense is a perception that past is not something that is lost or invalid, rather it has a function in the present. It exists with the present, it exerts its influence in our ideas, thoughts, and consciousness. This is historical sense. It is an awareness not only of the pastness of the past but the presence of the past. On the sense, the past is our contemporary as the present is. Eliot's view of tradition is not linear but spatial. Eliot does not believe that the past is followed by the presence and succession of a line. On the contrary, the past and the present live side by side in the space. Thus, it is a spatial. Then, Eliot holds that not only the past influences the present, but the present too influences the past. To prove this idea, he conceives of all literature as a total indivisible order. All existing literary works belong to an order like the member of a family. Any new work of literature is like the arrival of a member or a new relative or a new acquaintance. The arrival and presence brings about a readjustment of the previous relationship of the old members. A new work takes its place in the order. Its arrival and inclusion modifies the order and relationship among all works. The order is then modified. A new work of art influences all the existing literary work as a new relative influence. The old members of a family. It is this sense that the present modifies the past as the past modifies the present. The past is modified by the present also, in the sense that we can look at the past literature always through ever renewing perspective of the present. A new work of art cannot be evaluated in the isolation without reference to past literature and tradition. Evaluation is always comparative and relative. It calls for a comparison with the past, that is, with tradition. The value of a work depends on how well it is adjusted into the order of the existing literary works. No poet, no artist of any art has his complete meaning alone. His significance, his appreciation is the appreciation of his relation to the dead poets and artists. You cannot value him alone. You must set him for contrast and comparison among the dead. Among the dead. A work of a art has two dimensions. It is at once personal and universal. It is an individual composition, but at the same time, its inclusion into tradition determines its worth and universal appeal. A writer must be aware that he belongs to a large tradition and there is always an impact of tradition on him. Individual is an element formed by and forming the culture to which he belongs. He should surrender his personality to something larger and more significant. In his consciousness cultivation of historical sense, a writer reduces the magnification of personal self, which leads to depersonalization and impersonal act. When a writer is aware the historical sense, it does not mean that he is influenced by the part or his own self. Rather, the writer should minimize the importance of his personal self, which will lead him to depersonalization and impersonal act. Tradition is a living stream. It is not a lump or dead means, but the main current does not always flow through the most noted authors. Authors Eliot regret that the tradition in English world of letters is used in prerogative sense. This is one reason of the undeveloped critical sense of the English nation. They are too individualistic or intellectual habits. Eliot criticizes the English intellectuals. According to Eliot, to the English intellectual tradition is something that should be avoided. They give much more importance on individualism and are critical about the historical sense or tradition. Like Arnold, Eliot views tradition as something living. For both the word tradition implies growth. Eliot recalls Edmund Burke. What Burke did not, political thought, by glorifying the idea of inheritance, Eliot has done to English literary criticism. Burke, famous English politician, gave emphasis on the experience of the past in politics. In the same, Eliot also gives emphasis on the past regarding English criticism. Tradition does not mean uncritical imitation of the past, nor does it mean only erudition. A writer draws on only the necessary knowledge of tradition. He must use his freedom according to his needs. He cannot be completely detached. Often the most original movements of a work of art echo the mind of earlier writers. Though it sounds paradoxical, it is paradoxical, but true that even the most original writings sometimes reflect the thinking of the past or earlier writers. So there is nothing which is absolutely original. A partial or complete break with the literary past is a danger. An awareness of what has gone before is necessary to know what is there to be done in the present or future. A balance between the control of tradition and the tradition of an individual is essential to art. Eloyd said elsewhere that by losing tradition we lose our hold on the present. Hence, a writer should be aware of the importance of the tradition. Literary articles. So, in this way, now I explain to you about the elite. What is the elite? T.S. Eliot mean by tradition and historical sense is a tradition and individual talent. This is the question of MA English 4th semester. Thank you guys. You're watching my channel, My English Magazine. My name is Sangeeta Mehta and you're watching my channel, My English Magazine. I am also on Blogger, Google, everywhere. Thank you. Thank you very much.